Welcome to Eye on the Illini. This is Mike Cagley with Marcus Griffin, Kedrick Prince. We will be joined later on, we're hopeful, by Brad Sturdy. Uh, guys, I got to be honest with you. That's a decent, they're small, but that's a decent Indiana team. And Illinois made that into a boring game by just being bigger and better at what they do. Ked, what are your thoughts?
Well, my initial thoughts right away. I mean, let's give Illinois credit. I mean, with a big 71-51 win today, like home game, a home win that they desperately needed. That it was a good bounce back performance. You had a really good outstanding performance from David Merkovic today with 25 points, and Keaton Wagner 18 points, but it was a quiet 18. And I feel bad about his assist, fellas. I mean, his assist numbers were down today because he threw the ball to guys that just weren't making shots. I mean, there was a sequence where he threw the ball to Tomislav once, to David once, and I forget who the other player was, and 3 consecutive misses. But overall, it was a great performance by Illinois because you had to have this win to stay in the race. There's no way Michigan is going to lose 2 or 3 games. Great performance by Wilkinson from Indiana as well, who finished with 21. Illinois was lucky. That guy is put up some big numbers. I mean, you go into it thinking this guy, he's put up 40 a couple times, or at least once I know. So great performance for Illinois. It was good, good overall game. And I'm really glad to see Colin Boswell back. Defensively, he made a big difference. Zonomer didn't get a lot of minutes tonight. It was 14, but you know what? Maybe there was something that the coaches saw. But overall, it was a great win. It's always good to win at home. You break a 2-game losing streak. Now you have to go out to the West Coast, and you can't have a slip-up out there because I think those teams are capable of beating you. USC's proved it, and UCLA has a lot of talent. They beat Purdue at home.
Marcus, your thoughts?
Yeah, it was. It was a. I don't look at it as high as probably as you guys, but I look at it as it was just a lunch pail victory. You went out and your size dominated them. That's what I expected. I knew coming into this game that Indiana cannot match up to you physically. I wish I love to see David on the block like he is exploiting the mismatch. I love to see that. Like I say all the time, I wish that we would do that more because the guys are so efficient. And when you get to shoot over 6'5" all the time because a little guard is switching over on you, I would love that opportunity. It was good to see Bam Bam back in the lineup. I'm glad that now he could get his feet wet, getting back into the swing of things. But yeah, I just think it was a solid victory. My expectations is that I go into every home game expecting Illinois to win. I don't care who they play. I expect them to win. If you're trying to do the things that they're trying to do, you have to win at home.
Yeah.
You just got to. And so there's nothing else to it. Nothing happened in this game that changed my thought process at all.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Let's go into the stats just because I know folks like that. If you're don't have them in front of you, Merkovich, 25 points, 7 boards, 3 assists, and no turnovers. So it shows you what happens when he gets the ball, especially when he can post up smaller guys. Boswell, so nice to have him back in the game. 9 points, 7 boards, 2 assists. Tomislav, 14 points. I believe he had 12 in the second half, but 14 points and 6 boards and an assist. Jake Davis, 3 points, 2 boards and an assist. Wagler, typical Wagler, 18 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Humrickhouse had a rough day shooting today, didn't have any points, but 8 rebounds to lead the team, 1 assist, and that was a beauty to Big Z. And you had Big Z with 2 points and no boards. It was a little bit of a light day's work for him. Illinois ended up out shooting the Hoosiers 44-41. And in percentage from the 3, it was 25-23 for the Hoosiers. Free throws 83-86. Illinois was the lead there. Again, a game with only 13 free throws. I felt like it was a fairly well called game. I know that people have to go on, they got to be sitting down because it might drive their car into something after hearing that. So hopefully there's no accidents over on Neal Street as people are driving out listening to this. Standpoint of turnovers, 9-2. Illinois only had 2 points off of turnovers, 14-2 for the Illini. That certainly helps your win. Rebounds, 38-25. Illinois with a 15-4 offensive rebound edge and a 17-5 second chance points. So second chance points and points off of turnovers were a total of 31-7 in favor of the Illini. That is huge. Bench points, 5-2 for Indiana. Points in the paint, 40-24 for the Illini. Fast break points, Illinois 4, Indiana 0. If you're a smaller team, you'd think you get out on push the ball a little bit occasionally, but you got to get the ball to do that. 2 blocks to 1 for the Illini, 7 steals to 1 for the Illini, 11 assists to 10 for Illinois. And Illinois led the game for 34 minutes and 36 seconds out of the game. So that is definitely big. And then when you go into the Illini only stats, looking at it, you will see that Wagler led the way at a plus 23. Merkovich was plus 20. Boswell plus 16. And you had plus 14 for Rickhouse, plus 13 for Big Z, 9 for Big T, and Jake Davis at 5. So you see there, and they scored at a 1.315 clip, which is pretty impressive. Now, the day is not done yet, but when you look at Ken Palm, Illinois is holding, they're up number 5. With their 21-5 record. And to be honest with you, the closing out the season means something because it could mean the difference between a 2 or a 3 seed. And then if you were to close the season hard and then have the additional benefit of a good Big Ten tournament run or a win, you could maybe, even with a little bit of luck, maybe try to sneak into a 1. I don't know if that's possible, but certainly it's going to be a challenge. So other than that, I think like I said, I think those statistically there wasn't anything else that really jumped out at me from that standpoint. I'm going to ask one thing though, guys. One of the things that I was told, that people have asked me about was, they're like, I can't believe the fouls that don't get called for Wagler that do get called for other guards. And I do think sometimes the referees, officials, as they look at it, they think, well, he's going to take the ball down the lane a lot. I can't give him 37 free throws. And I think at some point, and I'm not saying this is just Wagler, I'm talking for most guards, I think they get, in many cases, they don't get as many calls as you think they should because the ref just doesn't want to out of balance the game. And I think the same thing could be said for the big centers. I thought Kofi and even Edey got fouled to the point where they're like, well, we're not going to give them a foul every time they throw the ball inside. Now, Ked, you've obviously coached for a while, and then Marcus obviously is a Illini legend. I'd like you guys to give me your thoughts on that.
Well, I'm going to start with this. I don't care about how many times the official has to blow a whistle. If a coach's job, which for me, if I see a mismatch or an advantage, I'm going to take advantage of it, whether it be shooting the 3 or going to the block. Like, for example, Griffin talked about taking advantage of the post when Illinois has throwing in there to begin with, regardless if it's a big or a small guarding them. If the opposing team is going to put a small person down there and you get a foul every time down the court, that is the opposing teams to adjust. I don't really care if the official calls a foul tons of times. It's what it is. A foul's a foul. And I have always stated that. I don't care what part of the game it is, before the first second of the game or last second of the game, you have to call it because it's a foul. If you don't see it, then you don't call it. But my frustration is sometimes you see officials not do it because I do. There was a couple of times I thought Keaton got dumped, and truthfully, I don't think it's going to change. It's not going to brass it up a couple of times. And for the first time this season, I really thought Keaton showed some emotions where I think he got bumped and he didn't get a foul because of that reason. And I think officials don't want the owners to feel like, hey, this kid's getting fouled and I'm the guy calling because I'm on the baseline, I'm on the C position or A position to call the fouls. I think that's a part of the game where you have to make the right call. And if you're making the right call, it takes you going into the Big Ten officials and they look at it, and if they can say why they called a foul, then there's nothing to say. Like, there was one today, you talking about Ken Wagler, there was a foul today. They called on, I don't know who got it, Jake Davis or Colin Boswell. They didn't touch a jersey, and it was a foul. And I just thought, what did you see? Why did you call that? It didn't affect the game, but it was a clean play. But then to your point, on the other end, Keaton gets bumped and they don't call it. So I can't figure it out. Brad Underwood said last week in the press conference, which he walked out of, that he was frustrated because he didn't know. So I don't know what the answer is, but if it was me, I'm going to call what I see regardless of the time of the game.
Marcus?
In regards to the fouls, Kez says something like when big switch and the little guards are guarding them down in the post, you get some guards that'll wrap that hand around and try to pull that chair out from under the big to get the big, calling those fouls. But I don't want you to call basketball as a contact sport. Let's be honest. You can call a foul every play down the floor. Every time down the floor, you can call a foul. It has to be, what is that defender doing to get that foul? If he's bumping, like if he's bumping with his chest but not putting his hands on, don't call those fouls. Let these guys play through it. Let these guys be tough, play through it. Now, if he's grabbing them, handshaking them every time down the floor, call the foul. You warn them once, get your hands off, slide your feet. And every other time after that, it's a foul. It's a foul. It's a foul. But I just like when the game is free flowing. It's getting up and down. Like, you don't have a lot of, back in the bruiser era when I was playing, it felt like every 3 possessions you was going to the free throw line because the referees just called it like that. But I think just let them bang. Let the guys bang. But I hope, what I'm hoping is that the refs, as we get into the tournament, they don't want to start calling fouls on Illinois, because you get a Pac-12 ref that ref some Big Ten games, and they don't call the game the same. The game is called very differently. So, but yeah. Oh, Wagner is a problem. Always under control.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing here is I have to admit, Wagler doesn't he doesn't do any of that the weird falling and stuff. He just kind of goes down the lane and goes about his business. Maybe he needs to take a drama class, or do the fears, every time he gets, somebody near him. I thought this was one that maybe goes into the wheelhouse of Mr. Griffin here. But how would you like some Bill Self high-low offense for this team?
I'm not going to sit here and say, if you have the passing ability that Illinois bigs have, why would you not exploit that? It doesn't make any sense. Like, have you let your bigs play big, not only on the defensive end, but on the offensive end as well. Let them play big. If defenses are going to switch every time those boys come in contact with a ball screen or whatever, punish them. I'm talking about just physically punish them. Like, if you want to win a national championship being Illinois, you're not the quickest team. You're not the high jumpingest team, but you can break people's wills. If people want to switch, you can physically, you're the biggest team in the country, physically dominate them. That's the way to a national championship.
Yeah. It is. And what was frustrating today, Tommy will start the game that way, but he'll float to the perimeter. I mean, it's like he's looking for it. And I don't understand, because he and David Merkovic, they are really, really effective on the block.
Yeah.
And then they're both a free throw shooting team. I don't understand. Like, I personally thought, after looking at it, the Indiana game has some crucial turnovers, but they had a clear height advantage. Well, not a clear height advantage. They were scoring at will against Indiana. Against Wisconsin in the post. They didn't even try to block shots. And so, to me, if they're still hunting mismatches and you have the advantage, you should do that. Somebody made a comment here on the right, and I agree with them. If the 3-point shots aren't falling, I don't think they did. They did today. They were 7 of 31 for 23%, and they still got up to threes. And Indiana was 6 of 24 for 25%. Some of those threes, if they're open, I get it. And I'm not even upset the fact that Ben Rickhouse did not knock down a bunch of threes today. It was 0 for 7 and 0 for 6 from 3. You know what's going to happen. But at some point, because if you really want to confuse a team, if I'm coaching against Illinois and I'm thinking, damn, they can all shoot the threes, but they go to the post. Yep. Because I really think if you go, I said this at halftime, if you go to the post and you make that a point of emphasis where you could get 14 to 15 points a game from the post, your 3-point shooters are going to have a lot more open looks if they relocate than what they're getting. Because they don't do it. They refuse to do it. They started the game with a couple good plays out of it. There's enough. I trust the coaching staff now because I've seen it. Start the game with a play I've never seen before. Coming out of a timeout, draw something up for one of your big fellas to get a layup. I mean, they're going to get fouled, and they're good free throw shooters, like I said. There's nothing wrong with being a good 3-point shooting team at all. I think Griff, he clicked the button. I think he lost his signal by mistake. But there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, give this guy a chance to get on the body. And that's not Zonomer's game. I get it. But David and Tommy, it is a part of their game. The high-low action is tough because of the way the floor is now. I mean, you don't see both stuff use it as much as you used to. He used it all the time, Mike. I don't see that as much anymore as I used to. But you can still get some action from them as well as far as getting them on the block and getting post touches and kicking it out. And they're all good passers. The weak side is typically open.
Okay, can I say something real quick? Because I wanted to jump in before my internet went out again.
You have a lovely home, by the way, in the background.
Oh yeah, I can wish and dream. I'm downstairs in the apartment complex, and that's what it looks like down there.
I know, I'm just messing with you.
Yeah. So, but oh my Lord, I lost my train of thought right there.
Ken totally threw you off with that. Although I will say, Marcus, when I did get an email from somebody who said that if I have to listen to Marcus complain about not going inside and you complain about lack of NIL funds one more time, I'm gonna lose it.
Hey, like I'm guessing how the guys play. It's just robot because they probably have heard so much space the floor, don't stay in the paint, don't stay in the paint. But when you have just the dog in me, I'm not going to let 6'4" guard me. I just cannot let 6'4" guard me. Like, he thinks he can guard me. Like, he really believes that in his heart. When he switches up and he's guarding me, he thinks that he can stop me from posting up. I will take offense to that.
Our bigs don't.
If I'm 7'2", I'm definitely taking offense to that. We're going straight to the block. You have to show me every time you switch. And it's not all the time. It's just in the dog days of the Big Ten when nothing is falling, nothing is working. Y'all are sluggish. Hey, they're going to switch this ball screen. We're going to throw it to the wing, and we're going to throw it to Big Z on the block. Big Z, take your time. They're not going to double because they don't want to give us open looks at the 3. We need you to give us 3 quick baskets, and then they're going to start to dig, and then you're going to kick it out. We're going to swing it, and we're going to knock down open 3s.
And they panic. Teams panic when you do that. If you guys remember in the first half, Indiana went to a zone one time, and Illinois had time to go down. He picked for Jake Davis, and he slipped the screen, and he got dunked out of it. They got out of it right away. My point to this is you get the ball on the block. They can't double, then you score. You just have to do it. You have to be disciplined to do it. You really and truly do. There's comments over here, too, about Colin Boswell playing against Michigan State. I think if Colin Boswell plays against both teams, I don't think Illinois loses to Michigan State because he's going to defend, number one. And I thought Illinois wore down, and I thought he would have made a difference against Wisconsin. Lesson learned. I mean, I'll tell you what, though, guys. We've all talked about this as hosts and listeners about Keaton Wagler. Well, Colin coming back, giving Keaton Wagler a blow. The kid still played 38 minutes today, and he logged a lot. And so he's not coming off the floor. It's not going to happen. I don't care if they have John Stockton in the backcourt with him, Magic Johnson. It doesn't matter. That kid's going to get 38, 39 minutes a game. He's not coming off the floor, so it doesn't matter.
Way too much.
Yes, I mean a lot of people are
Kind of way
concerned
too
about it.
much.
I agree, but he's not. Today I thought there was times where you could have took him off the court because Kylan looked healthy. Now I don't know what his hand feels like right now, but there's times and with Jake Davis playing well and David or Merkovich, I should stop because it's David. You had a chance to rest him, but you know what? Maybe he's not asking to come off the court. Maybe there's something else that we're not seeing. But I would have rested him because going in the Big Ten tournament, and I'm gonna tell you guys, the Big Ten tournament, it doesn't matter what you do in the tournament. I've heard too many guys talk about, they've had people on the selection committee talk about the tournaments. Unless you're a small team and you win it, Illinois needs to finish the season well. If they want to have any chance of getting a number one seed, they need to beat Michigan and Michigan to lose a game. But now that Arizona lost, I don't see that happening. I really don't. I think they'll be a number one seed. But if Illinois wants a 2 seed, they have to beat Michigan, and you can't slip up anymore. The Big Ten tournament is irrelevant. They could get beat in the first round. I've heard too many selection committee guys say the tournament is irrelevant. Think about it. When teams go to the championship games, the brackets are out in 30 seconds
Already
after.
out, yep.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
I just don't think you want to lose my personal opinion is you want to win that first game, and then I think you're pretty much cruising.
Let me ask y'all guys a question. Like, would y'all prefer Illinois to get, because if Illinois gets the 1 seed, they're going to get the 4th 1 seed. Or would you want, they're going to get the 4th 1 seed, or I would rather Illinois be like the top 2 seed over a 4-1 seed. Because if you the 4-1 seed, do you know the headache that you're going to have in your area over being the top 2 seed? What do y'all think about that?
I would agree with that. And I would think, Griff, I'm going to tell you, me personally, there are 2 or 3 teams out there that I don't think Illinois matches up well with, and that could possibly be 2 seeds. I just don't. And Illinois is a great offensive team, and this is my personal opinion. I do not want to see Houston. Nope. I do not want to see Iowa State, because those teams to me they're athletically, and even UConn. And UConn's not the same team.
UConn, I agree with you.
I don't want to see Alabama.
You know what? And and I tell you what, I would want to play them again. Griff, Keaton Wagler was, a nobody then. That's probably shouldn't say that, but he was not on the scene. And Illinois only lost by 4 points, and Alabama played a great game. I don't want to see a very, very athletic team and a team that can just shoot the lights out like Wisconsin. If Wisconsin played Michigan right now, as hot as they are again, they beat them again. They dismantled Michigan State again. So teams like that, to me, are kind of teams that you just don't match up well with. And it's all about matchups, I think, in the tournament. I think, and Griff, you may agree, I don't know. But if there's some teams out there right now who don't want to play Illinois either. They don't have the size to play against Illinois. So I think the matchups make a big difference. What I'm really curious to see, not because of the hype surrounding it, I really want to see Michigan play Illinois because they're a good team, but Illinois presents challenges for Michigan as well. And I'm really curious. The good thing about it is at home on a neutral court, it would be great. When Michigan plays Duke on Saturday, that's going to tell me a lot about them. I know they're great, and I didn't forget about what they did to start the season. But it's about matchups to me, and some teams I just don't think Illinois matches up well with athletically. Michigan State pushes the ball, they don't get back. That's why teams like UConn and maybe Iowa State and those teams like this scare me in the tournament.
I got a question. Was that Arkansas that beat Illinois handily this year, or was it Alabama?
Neither.
The only team that beat Illinois handily was
UConn.
UConn. Illinois lost by 4 to Alabama. And then they lost by
13 to UConn, I think.
Yeah.
It was like
it was the other way around.
And to be honest with you, it really wasn't that close. Kyler Boswell kept Illinois in the game. That game would have been a blowout. Only reason I know that, I put myself in misery. When I don't have anything else to watch, I'll go back and watch games when they lose. Now, on the flip side, I think Tennessee's a really good athletic team, but Illinois played well against them. So it's in a tournament setting, and if Illinois wants to advance, I'm going to tell you this. If they go out and they shoot threes, well, it doesn't matter to me personally who they play. But you can't do what you did today and go 7 of 30-something from the three-point line. I'm not guaranteed 7 of 31 that you're going to be guaranteed that you're going to get that win. They have to make shots, and your stars have to show up, which means – I've always been a fan of Michael Jordan making this comment. You have to have at least 3 guys 3 or 4 guys to be great to continue to win. If two of your stars are down and you have one, you're not winning. You're just not going to. You look at Illinois when they beat Purdue. Keaton Wagler was great, but he had some other guys step up late.
Yeah, and I know Jack had something that was one of my concerns. The 3-point shooting. Illinois needs to get that back on track because it has not been as reliable the last. Now, part of it's you're playing really good teams now, so you do have to factor that in. But I do think they've got to kind of think about it and what can they do to kind of re-spark that fire, especially going out to close this season.
Throw the ball in the post.
Well, you know what? No, I agree with that. But I'll tell you, as a coach right now, I wouldn't even mention it. You mentioned that to this team.
Yeah, the pressure.
I think, hell yes. I don't say anything about it. I would. It's tough because sometimes you'll see Brad tell the kids, his players, shoot the ball, and it's great. And I do like the fact that he doesn't show any emotion because some of those threes, I'm thinking, why in the heck did you shoot that? He doesn't do it. He applauds it. And as a player, you want that. You really do. So I don't say anything. I don't even bring up the fact that the 731. You got people like us on the podcast. Yes, I agree. Throw the ball in the post. But you can't be one-dimensional. You have to have other ways. And regardless of what happens, they do have the size. Even if it's Ben Humrickhouse, there's a guy that's capable of playing the 3 and 4, and he's 6'9". So they have the size. I just will take advantage of it, and I will not be one-dimensional. And you cannot have a day where you miss free throws like they did in Wisconsin. Because if your threes are falling and aren't, you have to be good. You have to be good. And I tell people all the time, 6 games, 4 games to get to the Final Four. You just have to be on your best for 4 games. And that's what you want. You got to be clicking at the right time.
Can I say something real quick? Sorry, big MCs. But I'm going to take it in a different direction real quick. We saw Illinois play this game tonight. My only concern is Indiana is not as a strong team, but those guards got into the paint way too easy. When you go back and watch the game, those guards got into the paint way too easy. All I'm saying is Indiana did not only have one of the guards that can pretty much put pressure at the rim. I'm more worried when you play teams like Michigan, when you play Michigan State again in the Big Ten tournament, when you get to the NCAA tournament, you got to play teams like UConn, Arizona, Michigan, maybe Gonzaga, somebody that could put pressure on the rim. Like we talk about our defense. I don't think our defense today was playing like you want to win a Big Ten championship. One of our issues is ball penetration, keeping those guards out of the paint. And we struggle with that today. And we gotta correct that if you want to challenge Michigan, because those boys coming, and I kid you not, they're trying to get feet in paint. When those guards come down, they're trying to get feet in paint. That's all their coach is going to be pressing to them. Let's collapse their defense. Today, I don't think they did a good job, but it looked good because of the guards couldn't finish in the paint. Because they got big boys. Michigan got bigger athletic guards. That's all.
Yeah. And certainly, Dorn struggled. I mean, there was a lot of poor shooting outside. I mean, if Wilkerson wasn't there, Illinois would have won by 30. This is one of those strange games where you can look at it and say, Illinois didn't play that great, but they could have won by more.
Easily.
And you can also look at it and say Indiana wasn't playing particularly good, so it's a little one tougher to thread. But Kat, I wanted to ask you one question. How important is it to recruiting? You talk to families and kids all the time, to have Terrence Shannon Jr., back in town working out with the team, to have Kasparas Yakachonis in town, Will Riley, 2 guys who are having pretty good NBA seasons, having these guys at a game and Kasparas talked about how Illinois will always be his home. How big is that in recruiting circles and for future recruiting?
I think that's huge, Mike, because our age, Griff's obviously like 30 years younger than us, but you have to go with the Kendall Gills, and Kenny Battles and those guys in the NBA, and those players don't recognize them. But if you're a young player right now, when you talk to a recruit, they know Will Riley. You know, they know a KJ, they know a Io, they know a Terrence Shannon because it's fresh in their memories. And a lot of people, if you haven't had the opportunity to go to the urban basketball practice facility, they have a really nice photo of those guys up there with their NBA uniforms on. So when recruits come into that nice, beautiful facility, they see the Illinois guys are in the NBA. You know, there's one picture of Io that's, you know, implemented on the wall. So it matters to them because all the kids think they're going to go to the NBA. Whether they are or not is not going to happen. That's everybody's dream, to go to the NBA, go to the NFL, the WNBA. But if you have a product that you can sell and then talk to the players to come back. Some players don't come back. They don't like the school. They don't like what happened. So they refuse to come back. And I understand that. Situations are different for everybody. I really do. I think there's pressure from some parents to send their kids to school there. I look at Kendall Gill, his son is going to Northwestern. You know, you have Lucas Johnson's daughter who's outstanding. People are watching Lucas's every move that he makes to if he's sending his kid to Illinois or not, or how interested they are. So if you can put guys and you put a good product on the floor to have them be in the locker room, to show, because if you walk in the urban basketball complex from the outside, the first thing you see is this really beautiful video of the men's program in the tournament. You see Terrence Shannon flying through the air, dunking, Io and Kofi, and Genesis Bryant knocking out a three, or Adelia McKenzie. They have all that up there. That stuff sells because they can recognize these players, and they really do. It resonates with the parents. So a lot of times when you go on recruiting visits, the coaches will let the kids, they'll get away from the kids and let them be with the other players. So how they sell it and this spin on it is great. I know this. Those recruits, former players will tell kids what Brad Underwood is like. He's tough. He has a big heart. He cares. The school cares about you. Has a huge fan base. They'll follow you. I had a guy text me during the game telling me he's going out to Los Angeles and, you know, to make sure he watches the game. And the fans will travel. So recruiting is the lifeblood of every program, I think. And if you can continue to build, and it's easier now. It is a lot easier. Anybody listening to this, it's not easy, but Illinois doesn't have to go out there and sell smoke screens and say, hey, when Brad Underwood first got out there, this is what I want to do. You're going to win 20 games. You're going to get in the tournament. You're going to be on the big stage on TV all the time. They take care of their players financially, I guess, if that's what you want to say. And you're going to have a chance to play in the NBA if you do what you're supposed to do. Keaton Wagler is a great candidate to say, hey, this is why you come to school here. We're talking about this kid getting minutes and he can't come off the floor, and they're still showcasing him. So it's a great sell. And it's on national TV as well. So I love it. And you got guys like Marcus Griffin here on the podcast with us. This guy is busy. We understand the Griffin. We love having you on. But I think that stuff matters because they give back to the schools. I mean, guys that come back to the games. I think that stuff's great.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts, Marcus? I know
everything he said. It's very important. It's just that you can, like, when you can see and touch players, especially in this social media era, it just goes a long way. And as much as you can have those guys, even if parents remember us, like you got some Illinois parents that wanted their kids to go to Illinois forever, and they remember the history of Illinois, and they just like that. They want to see if it's a family environment. Do you have all the old school players? Are they welcome? And it's just a plus when you can have all of that at your school and continue in that family, because some parents look at, okay, how are you going to treat my kid after he's gone? Like, it's not just about right now. It's about 10 years down the road. Is he going to be welcome? How are you treating the other former players as well? So it can only bolster your university with recruits.
Yeah. And Ken, were there any recruits there today that fans might want to know a little about while we're on the recruiting subject?
Yeah, you had a couple of guys that have already committed. Ethan Brown, a 6'4" shooting guard from Roland, Missouri. I want to tell you, I had a chance to talk to him a couple of weeks ago, and his story is, you know, I'm not going to give you everything because we want you to be members of Illini, guys, but his story is a lot like Keaton Wagler's, and he pays attention to it. a kid that are not highly recruited. A lot of people don't know about because he's from a small town in Rolla, Missouri. He doesn't play on the biggest AAU circuit, but he is having an outstanding year. This kid's putting up 25, 26 a game against the top competition in the state of Missouri. He told me he has a chip on his shoulder, which I love because players like that, they come in with an edge and they want to prove everybody wrong. He's there. He told me a couple weeks ago he was coming to this game. Another kid that's there is, from what I was told, is another commit, Quentin Kitt from Griff's area, from East Peoria. Yep. This kid put up 39 points yesterday. 39 against Metamora, and 23 of those came in the second half. And he's a 2027. Ethan Brown's a 2026. So this is what I'm talking about. As far as recruits committing to Illinois early, they believe in it and they want to be there. They want to get that scholarship because there's only so many to go around. Then you have an outstanding guard named Jackson Davis, who everybody wants. And this kid is special to me personally because most of the top players in the state now, or any state, not just Illinois, they go to prep school. This kid is still here. A 6'1" point guard from Gurney, Illinois. I'm sure most of you remember who was from Gurney, Illinois. If you don't remember, I'm not going to tell you. Dig it up because you should know. I will give you a hint. He scored 40 points in the game once as well. Big-time basketball recruit who's getting looked at by Arizona State, Indiana, Iowa, Purdue as well. Another good shooter was on campus. Cole Kelly, 2028 guard. I was from Naperville, Illinois. Iowa, Missouri, Nebraska, those are really good schools. Obviously, Nebraska is because they're always looking for shooters. There'll be competition from Illinois there. So when they have an opportunity to get kids on campus to sell what you just asked about, Mike, I think that is huge. Yeah. You want kids like that to be on campus, and you want to keep the kids in state. I just mentioned Quentin Kitt being from the state of Illinois. If you can get a Cole Kelly, and you want to keep the best players in the state if they fit your system. And what Brad Underwood's system is the guys that can shoot and put it on the floor. And when I see some of these guys commit, you can see the similarities of some of the guys already on the roster. I don't mean this in a negative way, but if you're a small guard, a small person, what Illinois is looking at right now, you better be outstanding because they don't really look. They look for size and guys that can shoot. And then he's right. That Peoria connection is great. I think that's huge. And the Brandon also mentioned Peoria. My fault.
East Peoria is its own entity.
My bad, baby.
Its own entity.
Now we're gonna get all fine and
well, you know what? You know what's funny? I don't blame me because people, when I hear them do a game, they'll say Illinois. They don't say Illinois, and I always pay attention to that. Even though we're not talking grammar, we're talking, different parts of the city. But I understand you, baby. I get it.
It's like some people say Chicago, but then some people say a suburb of Chicago. And then if you talk to somebody from Chicago, they be like, "No, they not from Chicago."
There's a difference. It really is.
There's a difference.
Yeah, there is. We grew up with that in the Gold Coast of Muhammad.
The Gold Coast of Muhammad.
Yeah, we had somebody accuse me of being from the Gold Coast of Muhammad, which I grew up there. I'm like, I'm not certain where that is, but apparently I didn't know where that was when I grew up. So if we're looking at this, I think the other thing I think is interesting that people talk about, is it's interesting, but I don't know.
I agree.
If I think there's a risk here, but at the same time, I think the offense that Illinois runs, regardless of their efficiencies up here, regardless of the fact that their 3-point percentages go up and down, I don't know how much you want to change that. I think you can tweak it, like you said. And I'm not certain if I'm trying to think of, like, Saban never shocked anybody. He did what he was going to do. Bill Belichick did what they were going to do. They were famous for taking away, the best thing on the other team's offense. So I want Illinois to win a national title. But when you're scoring at the rate they are now, I just want them to be able to adapt in a game that if they're not shooting well, do we have another way to score? I don't know if I go into the game saying we're going to run a whole new offense,
But they do have work on it now. They have to work on it now. They have to work on being able to go to the block now. because if they don't, when they get into those high pressure situations in the tournament, they're not going to have the confidence to do it right there. So it's good to work on it now. Give those big boys opportunities to get on the blocks. Hey, something ain't working, pick a roll, go down low. Let's feed that for a little bit and let somebody get in a walk-in three. But when you just keep on looking for mismatches and everything's attacking the ball and you always got 10 eyes on you every possession, that gets tiring in high pressure situations. It really does.
From a mismatch standpoint, what it really is to me, and this is the generic answer, it's just looking for somebody who doesn't play defense and take them to the block. I don't think you don't have a Marcus Domask on this team. That worked with him. It really did work with him. I want to see them use different situations where I know they're a 5-out team and a motion team, just the NBA offense, but I want to see more sets. You have to stop the bleeding. If the mismatches doesn't work, say you have a mismatch with Keaton Wagler and he's done the post, and Mike, you mentioned it earlier, he's not getting fouled. So what are you going to go through? You got to run different backdoor sets, cuts off the free throw line, cuts off the bigs to get layups. The very first play of the game, they did that. And I've seen the number. I've seen it a lot more than what I have in the past. They need about 15 of those in their book to call out plays where you want to isolate somebody or you want to get them a bucket. If I want to get a bucket to Griff, where it's block to block, I'm a screen across, and it's a quick pass on the block to get and want to get fouled. Those are so many different things that you can run. I think you're going to have to stop the bleeding. What Illinois needs to do, they have to become tougher because they are going to get everybody's best game no matter what. I can assure you, like I said to you, when you go to UCLA, no disrespect because they're in the Big Ten, those arenas are kind of boring. They're dead. But I can assure when they play Purdue, they have fans there. If Illinois is thinking they're going to go out to the West Coast this week and nobody's going to be out there, they're going to be out on the beach getting sun already, you're kidding. Because they have an opportunity to upset a team. And you're going to get the best. They're going to tell their teams, you got to put your ass in someone. You got to rebound. You got to block out. That's why teams make a cautious effort of doing it. If they can mismatch, they can exploit Illinois' weaknesses, and they don't have a lot of them. Don't get me wrong. I would run them off the three-point line. I would run them off the three-point line every chance I got because that's what they're looking for.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges you could get if you like a team like Houston's about the only team that really, really scares me because they are going to play inside your radius, inside your cone, so to speak, and they're going to do that 28 feet from the basket. So you're not going to get many open look threes yeah. I mean, it's going to be. I'm not saying it won't happen, but it's going to be a challenge. And so then when you talk about going inside, that's how you make a team like that pay. So I do think you have to be able to adjust. And I think every Illini fan goes back to the nightmare of UConn 2 years ago when, Underwood said, we're going to keep going at Klingon. And I almost watched my son have a stroke, because it's like, we don't want to go keep doing that because it's not going well. That's kind of, it was, to be honest with you, it was kind of like shooting spit wads at Godzilla, just not really working at all. So I think that's the one challenge. And then I somebody just put on there need to go 9 or 10 deep.
That's not happening.
That's not going to happen. I mean, we're at 8 right now, and I don't see any way to go 9 or 10, barring a unique set of circumstances in a single game.
Mike, you mentioned Houston. I'm going to tell you, we can talk about all the flopping and all the times those isms and we want. Michigan State's another team that could cause Illinois problems. They're athletic. They push the ball down you, and Illinois knew they were going to do it. Those are teams, and you're going to get those teams in the Sweet 16, the Final 8. When you get to the Final 8, you're playing somebody really good. The only thing you can hope for is a Cinderella team, and I'm going to tell you guys, since NIL has become a big deal, you don't see them as much anymore because those NIL, those stars who are at those mid majors, they're now at bigger programs. Yeah, because of NIL money. So I do, and I'm going to tell you, there's a comment here from Mio Peep 385. I'm going to tell you, you're not the only one who wants Michigan State again. I can tell you, This is one that I'm throwing a tease out there. One of the advantages being on our message board. There's a lot of players and coaches who want that same thing. I can assure you that. They let one slip away on a neutral court. I would love to see them to Illinois play them again. They are athletic. Michigan State really is, and they're becoming a better team. I know there's this big thing of Tom Izzo late March, but his team is playing better. Now, last Friday, they ran into a buzzsaw. They ran into a team in Wisconsin who may be as hot as anybody in the Big Ten right now. I wouldn't want to play them. I'm glad Illinois doesn't have to go to Madison, and I hope Michigan has them on the schedule. I don't think so, but I hope they do.
Well, I will tell you, though, the other thing about Michigan State and Graham Couch, who's covered them for years, and he's been on Eye on the Illini before, he made a comment that basically this is a very athletic and very good defensive Izzo team, but since they have good enough in scoring to make noise in the tournament. And I do think that is a valid concern if you're a Michigan State fan, that just like Illinois, you can be concerned about them dealing with an athletic team. You know, that each team's got their weakness. I just don't think Michigan State can score that well, and that's going to be their challenge because they're not going to get. Yeah, they can't shoot, and they're not going to get the calls in the tournament. They're not going to get the calls at the tournament like you would.
I wouldn't be so sure of that. Tom Izzo has made a reputation. I wouldn't be so sure of that. I'm sorry. I'm not being negative, but I don't know because he has a way with officials, and I think he's won enough, and I think he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. His voice speaks loud. Brad Underwood's been in Illinois long enough now to where he should get some of those too.
Oh, I agree, but it does take a long time. It's amazing what the John Gross in the last 3 years of Bruce Weber era did to the Illinois. Sturdy, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, obviously that's what you want to do. You see the improvement defensively with Boswell back, but I thought they just really played a solid game, took care of business, and you win when you shoot. You shoot really poorly from three. 7 of 31, I think, was the final 3-point tally. So you can shoot 20% from 3-point range, 22 or 23% from 3-point range. But you're back to the offensive rebounding team. You saw the defensive game plan was fantastic. They did a wonderful job of keeping Indiana from getting clean looks for much of the game. Even some of the shots Indiana made were really, really tough shots. I thought, Wilkerson hit a couple tough ones, and then DeVries hit a fadeaway in the corner. Those are, guys make shots, and you just tip your hat sometimes.
Yeah.
I agree, Brad. We said that. We talked about that before we got on the air. They made a lot of shots. Is there a lot of echo going on?
Hey, Brad, hit your speaker off. There you are. When Brad talks, he'll go on.
Yeah, we mentioned that a little bit. The fact that they made tough shots, and sometimes you have to tip your hat to people who do that. Indiana, they're playing really well right now, and I think Illinois did what they had to do. They used their size, and it's no longer. I think it wore them down.
I agree.
Brad, any thoughts on a couple things? I guess first off, what was the response? It seemed really positive to have Bam Bam back. What was the response that you were hearing up close and personal? And then, do we have any idea how long Stojakovic's recovery time is going to be?
Yeah, it was interesting. The loudest thing I heard them talk to Bam about was when he took that three at the end of the game. When there was like 15 on the shot clock in the final minute. But no, I think it was Underwood kind of yelled across the court at him. But I thought it was great to see that reception. I think the energy is different when he's out there. Just a different energy from this team by having him on the court. Also, you look at how many times they were able to let Wagler play off the ball. They ran some actions that really were a little bit different because they had Boswell at the top and allows him. It takes so much pressure off Keaton, and also takes away some of the fatigue that he can get when he has the ball the entire game. So it was huge having him back. I think the team response was fantastic, and everybody was excited about that. So I think that's really good. Also having I think there was so much energy when you have all those recruits in the building, some of the best recruits in 26, 27, 28, not only in the state, but outside the state. And then you bring in, 3 former NBA players and another former players in the G League, and they're all hanging out in the locker room afterwards. And that's just fantastic. The energy was great. And this was definitely a great performance from Illinois.
From the standpoint of recruiting, how we talked about this a little bit, want to get your input. How big is it to have returning NBA players there, and what effect did you see on maybe some of the guys who were watching?
It's pretty cool, especially post-game locker room when you've got your current players, one of them who's a projected lottery pick, plus you've got 2 guys who are rookies in the NBA, plus you've got another guy who's in his 3rd year. It's pretty impressive when you go in that locker room. I think it was really cool. The other thing was Terrence Shannon practicing with the Illini on the scout team. He took the role of Wilkerson for the last couple of days, so Kylan Boswell guarded him, and then he had to guard. He guarded Boswell last couple of days. So I think that was cool too. With Terrence on the break from the NBA. So I thought that was awful neat to see a guy come and give back like that. That's pretty special. And if you're a recruit and you're coming there, you probably feel pretty good about that program as a path to get to the next level.
Good. And anything come up in the post-game conference that was interesting when you were in there talking to coaches and players?
Well, Brad, let me ask you before you answer that question. I don't know what everybody saw last week about the Orange Crush, and I saw Brad Underwood comment about the Orange Crush. If you don't mind, could you share what you saw and what Coach Underwood said? Because I think they got a bad rap this week, and I saw he commented on that during the press conference.
Yeah, it was funny. He actually said he hadn't seen all the stuff. There were just some things on Twitter talking about how the Crush wasn't as good as it used to be, and we've seen people mention that. And I thought, and I think everybody has this happen. This is like saying Illinois wasn't as good as they were a month ago because they didn't play well against Wisconsin. I think, everybody has days maybe they're not as loud or not as into the game, for whatever reason. But I thought the Crush was fantastic today. Brad just basically said, I didn't know. I think they're great. He had a funny quote. He said, I just wanted to make the concrete up at the top crack a little bit and have some chips come off. So it's Josh can worry about it. And it's not something I want to worry about. So, but yeah, I do think they did a better job of kind of the Crush leadership did a really good job of getting around and trying to get people more engaged. Because let's be honest, I mean, the one thing about like being in one of these student groups is you have to kind of know what to do. I mean, you want to be loud, you want to have these things, but I think in the only thing I would say is I think where the Crush kind of is different. It becomes more about, it was just more screaming and yelling at like individual players and instead of like, chants at them or things like that. And just, but I think it was great. I mean, I thought they were loud today. They were engaged. I thought they did a wonderful job. They'd obviously seen some stuff on Twitter. I don't really know what all it was. I don't know. I read a lot about college basketball, not as much about student groups. So didn't see a lot. Thought Brad was the same. If I'm going to talk about the press conference, my favorite part of the press conference was not just the players being there, but David Mirkovic sending Underwood a long text message, trying to take responsibility for the Wisconsin loss because he wasn't mentally prepared to play. That's a dude who's locked in, man. How about that maturity for a kid who's 19 years old? I was really impressed by that. I think that goes to show you what kind of competitor he is. I thought that was one of probably the most, that was the coolest thing I saw. And, for a kid that age to kind of try and take responsibility, obviously he wasn't the reason they lost to Wisconsin, although maybe he didn't have a good game. But that's a guy who really is kind of invested in the program. He's compelled to be there. And, so that was it was really cool to see, especially from a freshman in his first year of college basketball and first year in the United States.
I like about that, hearing you say that, we always talk about coaches speak, and the kids are prepped. You hear the same thing every single time, and I'm glad he went off script tonight to say that. He didn't call cost him the game. Well, his turnovers were huge. I mean, let's be honest, they were. But so was the missed free throws late in the game. All that stuff mattered, So I give him credit, for that reason. But at the same time, you want to say, hey, you know what? He went off script. And I appreciate him for doing that because it is tough, whether you're a freshman or whether you're a senior. I just think that's huge to say. And he came out, and what's funny, this is a compliment. That is the most unorthodox basketball player I've ever seen play in my life. This dude is shooting off the wrong leg, fading back. His upper body is so strong. I've not seen anybody block it yet. His footwork is great, but it's how do you guard a guy going right, shooting with his left leg going up and his opposite hand? He's just effective, and it's funny, but it's effective as heck.
Brad, you had to get your volume back on.
No, I agree with Ted. I mean, it's a different. He's obviously different, but he's so efficient. He and Weigler to have two freshmen that are that efficient is really stunning. You don't see that very often in college basketball. Even last year with KJ and Will, they're really good freshmen. Had some really highlights, but these guys have been a little bit more consistent this year. And those guys both went in the first round, and yet you're probably like saying this pair of freshmen is better, which is really kind of shocking when you think about it from that perspective. So I thought it was really good. The other thing I thought was interesting, I thought their defense, it wasn't just Boswell. Boswell adds the bite, but their execution defensively, they didn't lose guys. They didn't lose shooter. I think there was only one time, where they really kind of lost Wilkerson badly, and he got wide open. But ball moved side to side, and they made a bunch of passes before that happened. But the one thing I'll say is when you make it really, really hard on a guy to score, and he has to keep shooting tough shots, sometimes then he misses the open ones just because it's hard. It's hard to get in the rhythm. When you're not getting shots for a long time, and then you don't get clean looks and you're shooting it, then you tend to miss those open ones. You're a little sped up, whatever. And I think that's what happened to him when he missed that wide open one. And they made Indiana play through their center, who's scoring 7 points a game or something like that. I mean, he basically was what they played through down the stretch. It was like, first of all, I was wondering why, and the second part was like, maybe it's just the Illinois defense put them in that deficit. So yeah, the game plan was fantastic. The execution from these guys, being locked in, was really impressive.
Yeah, it was a workmanlike, effectiveness from the Illini there. Any other thoughts, Brad, as we're getting on the hour mark that you wanted to get to us before we try to wrap this up for Illini fans?
Yeah, that was interesting. Brad mentioned possibly with Andre not even going to California if he needs treatment to get his ankle better and so forth. I thought that was intriguing, and I don't know that that'll happen, but obviously they want to get him back in practice as soon as possible, and they'll leave I think they leave Monday night, actually, to go to the West Coast. I think they're leaving Monday night. Maybe it's Tuesday early morning, but I think it's Monday night.
It is Monday.
Yeah. So obviously that's an interesting way that, the way he said that. So I don't know where he's at. It sounds like it's, with a high ankle sprain, you never know how long it's going to take to heal. It is what it is. But if getting Boswell back really makes it, you still want Stojakovic around, but it makes it less of a like an emergency, because now you at least have some guys that can then play, and you have some a little bit of depth, front court and back court. Guy coming off the bench, so you have options that you didn't have obviously against Wisconsin on Tuesday.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. Ked, your final thoughts?
We talked about the recruits being there. I love that part of it. I didn't want to see Illinois lose 3 games in a row. Indiana's looking for another big signature win. Illinois did what they had to do. They opposed their will on Indiana. I am concerned, me personally, I can't speak for the three of you, but Andre, it's time to be healthy now. You want to go into the season playing your best basketball with your best players. I thought Kylan looked good coming back today. Let's not overlook that. And I thought it was a great team win, and all the negative things that people saying about the Orange Crush, I don't like that. I think those kids are great. All the coaches love when they come out and support their team. You take any win in the Big Ten. It used to be, all of you remember, you used to beat up on teams and know you were going to win 30, 40 points. You have to bring it every day now. Everybody is good now. I mean, Northwestern just gave Michigan a game. They were up by 16 the other day. So you have to play well every night, and it's hard. You may not have your best, but you have to find a way to win. And I thought Illinois did that today. Indiana made it tough. They made tough shots like we mentioned, but they did what they had to. Now you cannot, my opinion, you should be favored when you go out to the West Coast. You need to win those games. You can't have a slip up.
Nope. Just continue to do. It was an okay win. It was what I expected. I wish they would have beat them by 30 to 40. But like we said, Indiana hit some tough shots. Let's get everybody healthy. You got what? 5 games left? 5 games left into the Big Ten tournament. Let's go 5-0. Let's go 5-0, 4-1. That Michigan game is going to be tough, but guess what I said earlier? You at home, let's knock it out. And let's go ahead and go into this Big Ten tournament with everybody healthy and ready to go, rocking on all cylinders.
Yep, that's a good way to end it, folks. We will be back for that game. That's a late one. That's 9 o'clock on Wednesday night. So it'll be a late one. We will do a post-game show literally right as the game is over, since it'll be about 11. And we will get, we will be.
I'm going to that game.
You're all the way out there? Sweet.
No, I'm saying I'm going to the Michigan game. I'm going to the Michigan game.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm talking about you on Wednesday. USC is a 9 p.m. game, so
I ain't going there.
That's going to be late. But if you're there, David Williams probably will give you free room and board at his place. But yeah, we'll be on then. So please go ahead and join us then. Until next time, folks, go Illini.